Jeff Balabon's joining us from Jerusalem. We're going to break down all of what's happening, not only here in the States, as President Biden is about to make his first appearance in walking onto an airplane. First appearance since stepping down and since being diagnosed with COVID. A lot of mystery has been surrounding that whole situation. We know he's going to be addressing the nation tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern. That broke just a few minutes ago. But Jeff, obviously, Israel is going to be a hot topic now heading into a potential, not even potential at this point, a Harris run. Not someone who's been the best for Israel in recent months and certainly is often kowtowing to the extreme left. You also had a situation yesterday where people have been thrown out from potential vice presidential candidates like Shapiro. John King said, "Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know if we need a Jewish person, another Jewish person now, on the platform." I mean, not didn't say those words exactly, but because that could be problematic. The anti-Semitism, the subtle anti-Semitism, the high-end anti-Semitism, the clear anti-Semitism has never been stronger. And when you have these moments now where Benjamin Netanyahu, which understandably a lot of people love and a lot of people do not, even in your own country, even in Israel, a lot of people, it's a very split, just like it is here. I want to make sure that's clear. However, when you decide not to meet with world leaders or to really snub them or to boycott, it's really sending a message. And it's certainly not a message, as one of our commenters said, certainly not a message that suggests you want peace.
That's right. I was watching the previous segments and we're talking about how Harris is to the left, i.e. worse for Israel relations than Biden. Let's also put this in context. Joe Biden is arguably, and it's actually hard to disagree, the worst, the most anti-Israel president that's ever been so far. So we're talking about Harris being even worse than a president who has created what they call daylight or sunlight between Israel and America and hampered Israel while it's trying to wage an existential war to defend itself, while it's trying to get back its hostages, including a number of American hostages that Biden is doing nothing to help and doing everything to hamper. And we're talking about a potential candidate, potential leader of the Democrat Party who's even worse than that. And as you say, we're talking about openly saying the quiet part, which is, and maybe a Jew on the ticket's not a good thing because maybe Democrats won't vote for a Jew. We have moved well into the region of anti-Semitism, and Bibi, from really during the Obama-Biden administration, that was their ploy. Everything they didn't like about Israel, because they were also not friendly to Israel, they said, "Oh no, it's not Israel we don't like, it's Benjamin Netanyahu." They tried to personalize it about him. Of course we're pro-Israel, because at that point, America hadn't spiraled down yet. The politics on the left hadn't spiraled down yet where you could be openly anti-Semitic. Because no, we're not against Israel. We're not against the Jewish people. We're against this guy. Well, it turns out that last week, a solid majority representing about 80 members of Knesset, because not everyone was able to vote, voted on language that said that a Palestinian state is an existential threat, right, against everything that Biden and the Democrats have been pushing for, that Blinken's been breaking their backs to do here, saying, no, that is literally an existential threat. It would completely destabilize the Middle East and would also threaten just regional stability and create Islamic jihadism as a global problem. And of course, reward terror. This is the stance of the vast majority of Israelis. And that's what Bibi is there to represent.
Jeff, we talked about that vote last week a little, and it's not something that got a lot of play in the American press. And I'm very thankful that you are there at ACLJ Jerusalem to follow these things for us, to give us this information. But you also were in Judea yesterday, and you had some meetings with members of Knesset. Could you give us a readout of what you were doing there and the work that you are doing on a daily basis as you represent the ACLJ in Israel?
Sure, and I'm very proud to let the Israelis understand that this is not the Israel Center for Law and Justice. It's the American Center for Law and Justice. And I'm there as an American representing the views and also trying to understand and bring back to America and bring back here the views of what's going on in Israel. So yesterday, there are two different things. Yesterday, I spent the day in Judea, touring around and getting security briefings. And today I spent the afternoon in Knesset. Yesterday's security briefings were fascinating because these are communities in what the world calls the West Bank, but in fact was known for thousands of years as Judea and Samaria. And it's the biblical heartland. And we're in the biblical sites. For example, we were on the hilltop, standing where the prophet Amos prophesied, which of course the world says that doesn't belong to them. That doesn't belong to Israel or the Jews. That belongs to the Arabs and the Palestinians who weren't there for thousands of years when the Jews were there. The companies have been using these towns have been using a lot of Arab labor. Well, now, because Biden has funded up Arab terror again through the Palestinian Authority, forget Hamas, it's become impossible. It's a daily threat. And so those Arab workers are out of a job. It's bad for everybody. It's bad for the economy, but they have to protect themselves because they've been radicalized thanks to an America that supports terror. That was yesterday. And obviously there's a lot more of that, but yesterday was touring around and seeing it. Today was at the Knesset where there was a session, which we were invited to, and it was a roundtable discussion, members of Knesset, members of the military, and members of affected communities about the path forward. And it was based on the fact that now Israel, thanks to this vote, is making clear what's been known here in Israel for decades. The other side, the Palestinian side, absolutely has no interest in coexistence or peace. They only want one thing, which is total genocide and a total eradication of the state of Israel and every Jew on earth. And so now that they have voted on this publicly, they're basically making a plea to the world and a plea specifically to America, their greatest friend and ally, and specifically to the kind of audience that's listening to us, Christian America. And that was much of the conversation that supports Israel and supports the Jewish people and is very much against the idea of global jihad, and saying we need to let them understand, and this is what I'm listening to them talk about this, how can we let America understand that we all know there can never be a Palestinian state? It's impossible. And this is what we're talking about, what Americans really want to hear, because there are a lot of people in between who break through the truth with their own stories. This was about the truth between the American people and the people of Israel.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. I want to take a phone call because this is, I think, not sitting well with people around this country right now, what's going on with Benjamin Netanyahu and his visit. Let's go to Diane, who's calling in California. Diane, you're on the air.
Hi, this is Diane, and my major concern is that Vice President Harris has had a less than stellar experience the last couple of years relating to international situations. And not seeing Netanyahu today, not welcoming him as world leaders are usually welcomed, is underlining the fact that she's continuing to promote her pattern of failure.
Yeah, and I think, again, with her stance on Israel, it becomes a little clear. Jeff, I actually thought that was interesting that unlike a lot of candidates, if we'd be kind of having to dissect where they stand, in this situation, because Israel has become such a hot topic, specifically on the left, over the last year, we kind of know where they stand, and we know how they're going to do on the issues that ACLJ supporters find near and dear.
That's right. And, Logan, this threat is not just here where I am on the ground in Israel. I have to tell you the other thing that comes up everywhere I go. I'm talking about people who live in Judea, in Samaria, in what the world thinks of as incredibly hostile territory, dangerous territory. They are so concerned. They're wondering how Jews can continue to live in an America that's being dominated by people like Kamala Harris, by Democrats who are supporting global jihad. That's what it looks like. They're supporting the terrorist side of things, and they're fighting against Israel. So the Israelis are wondering what future there is for America generally under this kind of a leadership. It really is a clarifying moment of good versus evil, and that's the way it's seen here. And I believe that's the way most American Christians see it also. It is a clarifying moment of good versus evil.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. Thank you so much for joining us. I did want to encourage everyone to support the work of the ACLJ. We can't have ACLJ Jerusalem without you, without the ACLJ supporter. And during this Life and Liberty Drive, you've heard us continually talk about all the different ways. But right now, we're preparing to file one of the most important briefs ever at the ICC to defend Israel. The ICC just granted our motion, and we only have 2 weeks until our deadline to file. So we are getting very engaged in what's going on, as we always are in Israel. It is never, the fight never stops, but it can't without your support. You have to engage. Look, like I've said, just travel cost alone, it could be enough to not be able to support an organization like this, just to get people where they need to go, whether that's internationally or domestically. You know where that is right now. And really, just think about that. That's a very small portion of what the work of the ACLJ does, is just getting from place to place. But we can't do that without your support. We only have 1 week left in our Life and Liberty Drive for the month of July. Your support is crucial for us to engage in all of our vital legal cases, whether that is our support of Israel, our support of life, and of course, in America, our support of liberty, which never has been more important than right now. We are a little behind. I told you that. I'm always going to be honest with you. We're a little behind. It's been breaking news. Political donations have dominated, but that doesn't mean the ACLJ work gets to stop. And we need your support right now. Your donations are doubled. Go to aclj.org or scan that QR code on your screen